Imagine that you walk the very same streets that housed the infamous guillotine that severed the heads of tens of thousands of individuals. Imagine walking underneath the Arc de Triomphe, such as the famed Emperor Napoleon had done during the height of his power. Imagine towering about the Paris skyline to witness the city in all its glory while being at the very top of the Eiffel Tower. Imagine being awestruck by the craters that litter the beaches of Normandy that torn through the Nazi army on D-Day. Our guest doesn't need to imagine as he has experienced all of the above and much more. He'll also elaborate upon his production. The Humanities Mass Communication Department at Melville Community College presents The New Directors, the show that introduces you to television's future writers, directors, and personalities. And now join our host, Gabrielle Snell, to meet the next new director.
Thank you for joining us for today's edition of The New Directors. All of the people involved with this program are students in the television production course and are directing, switching, controlling audio, operating cameras, and acting as talent for the first time today. The guests you are about to meet are students who, when not on camera, are behind the scenes working hard to bring this program to you with as few mistakes as possible. Each student will write and direct 4 different productions. This program will give them the chance to talk about themselves, the productions they have completed, and give the chance to get to know them and watch their progress throughout the semester. Our guest today is a person who is an eccentric soul who has experienced the iconic monuments of France, absorbed the fascinating history, and towered above Paris's majestic skyline. Now, I would like for you to meet our guest today, Jacob Waring. So, Jacob, I've been told that you've done some traveling in your free time over the years. Can you tell me about your favorite destination?
Sure, I would love to. And first, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me on your show.
Most welcome.
I went to Paris, France back in 2009. It was a school trip. And the school I was attending at the time was the American School for the Deaf. It was a 2-week program, a French exchange student program. And there's so much to go over in such a short amount of time that, considering the fact that Paris has been around since 3rd century BC, if you compare it to New York or Boston, you know, that's a lot more history. But some of the places I've been to are some museums, like the Monet Museum, the Louvre, probably butchered the name, so, you know, shows how much I learned in French class. And found palaces and prisons to be interesting because what were palaces also were prisons and vice versa, which I found that ironic. And I especially enjoyed the history behind the French Revolution, the Reign of Terror.
Okay.
You know, such fascinating history behind it, the downfall of a monarch, and the revolution behind it, which I find it more fascinating than our own American history, because all we did was, throw tea out into the Boston Harbor? I mean, come on. And the 2 places I definitely enjoyed the most were the Eiffel Tower and Normandy D-Day beaches.
Okay.
Now, the Eiffel Tower is located on Champs de Mars, and it was erected in 1889 for the World Fair. And it wasn't well liked at first due to the fact people thought it was an ugly sewer to see throughout the area. But 320 meters tall and iron weights weighed about 10,000 tons. And I was one of the millions of people that was able to be on top of the tower. And it's the tallest monument in Paris, so you can see in every direction, which I found was like astonishing. You see how the architecture that dates back centuries, and you can see all this is amazing. And it almost you would not be able to see it because Hitler invaded the city, and he wanted it all destroyed before the Allies entered, and luckily somebody disobeyed him. So as you see through the video, beautiful skyline. Normandy D-Day beaches, which was something I was very emotionally enduring because you see the craters, you see like the rubble, and you see the tournaments where they used to house big guns, and they would have over 10,000 to 6,000 ships, and you would have over, I believe, if I remember correctly, 150,000 troops invading the beaches at high tide, and 9,000 soldiers lost their lives.
Wow.
And to be in an area where the people storm the beaches and see all that possible loss of life was an astounding effect on me. And you can see the monuments and honor for them really put things in perspective for what we would have not had if they hadn't fought for our freedom over there, fought for the freedom of other people in their countries back in the 40s.
I agree.
And you can see how the beach, you can see how, imagine all those soldiers crossing those beaches and all of them losing their lives, having their last breath in the blood-soaked waters of those beaches.
Wow. It's very interesting. It seemed like you learned a lot.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why you decided to take the TV production course?
Well, to be brutally honest, it was a required course, you know, but I could have put it off until the final semester. You know, I could have said, I'll just wait until like the very last class, but I wanted to take the opportunity to take it and experience the world of filmmaking, and because I want to be a journalist, and I feel that is a very important facet in journalism. But even if I'm just gathering information, if I'm working with someone who's taking pictures or filming, I'll be able to coordinate. And I wanted to get that knowledge now and have that as building blocks for the future.
Okay, cool. Can you tell us some of the most useful things you've learned in TV production course?
That's a challenging question because I learned a lot. And the three main things I believe that I learned, and one of the first was the cinematography toolbox, which is essentially, I like to believe it as like a philosophical concept. And everything you learn in a film class is just another tool. And if you don't know how to utilize that tool, so for example, one technique could be used like a hammer, but you can't use a hammer to screw something in. And you can't hammer in something with a screwdriver. So the cinematic toolbox really helped me put an image to the concept of using different techniques. Another thing I learned was geometrical shapes. And before I even took a film class, I thought I was so, amazing with my filming and taking pictures with my iPhone. Then when I actually got down to learn how to utilize geometrical shapes to actually make an image pop and make it more dynamic. So now where I feel like I was just some arrogant, wannabe photographer with my iPhone. And the last thing that made a really big impact was the rule of thirds, which it's a very powerful technique. I can't even emphasize. It makes, probably overusing the word dynamic, but it really does make everything interestingly dynamic. Makes it able to emphasize things in an image. Makes everything seem more coordinated to the whoever's looking at the film or photograph, to really make them understand what the image is saying.
Do you mind telling us about some of the productions you've created for the TV1 class?
Sure, no problem. I created about 4 productions, and I'm proud of them, even though they probably would not be considered something Steven Spielberg would want to buy and make into a movie. Let me show you some of them right now. The first one that would pop up would be the student studies. And this one where I'm just struggling to understand how to use the camera, struggling how to utilize techniques. I was really bumbling, and I'm glad how I was able to learn how to put together clips and make a sequencing, and really help me conceptualize what I would need to do as a filmmaker. Another was the T project, where I was able to I made attempts to use shift focus to continue building on from what I learned in student projects, and utilizing close-up, mid-shots, and long shots to my advantage. And there was a few things I messed up. I believe that the journey, not the destination. So even though I maybe made a few mistakes, but I believe it helped me, made me a better filmmaker for my next 2 projects. Then the winter in New England, which I'm pretty happy about because I was able to implement rules of thirds, implement geometrical shapes, and really implement something like what you're seeing now, I believe it's called An Old Man Dissolve. And I love seagulls, so.
Great.
Then the last was, I believe, was the Orange Project. And the Orange Project is really, I wanted to tell a story. And I just, the culmination of everything I learned, putting it into a 3 to 2 minute story, which was not the easiest thing because it's one thing to actually do sequencing, one thing to actually, do like a scene, which is about nothing but to actually implement a story without using dialogue and just use your technique to really enhance the story. But definitely a challenging but very electrifying experience.
That's great. They all look really nice.
Thank you.
Can you tell me which one you feel is the best you've done?
Well, all my projects are like my children. It was hard to pick a favorite. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would have to be the New England project.
Okay.
So which I'll show you that right now. And one thing I like to know, the best thing about living in Norwalk, it's almost like you're living right next to the Long Island Sound, and you're living near forest-like areas, so I'm able to find a lot of interesting locations to really enhance. So like, for example, here, which I believe it's technically a geometrical shape, but technically not, but I really think having that centered would help. And here where I try to attempt a shift focus, I feel miserably, but making an attempt and trying to get it right is more gratifying because once you finally get it right, you get it right. And you can see it a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's not that strong of a shift focus.
You mentioned a variety of things you learned in the course. What was the most interesting and important skill, and how would you put that to use?
Well, I mentioned I wanted to be a journalist. And being a journalist, you have to understand all facets of it. I could be collecting information. I could be going to war-torn country, learning how to dodge bullets, which I think is a very crucial skill. But learning how to use editing in Avid, learning about rules of thirds, and learning about geometrical shapes. Because let's say I'm in this war-torn country, and I'm with someone who's taking pictures and filming, and I see something I think that would enhance my story, and I would point it out to him. And I would understand what I'm talking about, and we can cooperate and basically make the story come to life with the person's imagery, or if I had to have my own camera and film and do it myself. So those, I think, what really will carry with me throughout my life.
That's great. Today, we got to meet someone who elaborated on his trip to re-own the city of love, Paris, and his down-to-earth perspective on his directional works. I would like to thank our guest today, Jacob Waring, for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Great. We hope you enjoy meeting one of television's future directors, and we hope you will continue to join us each week to watch our progress. Thank you and good day.
This has been The New Directors with your host, Gabrielle Snell, directed by Shay Robinson. I'm your announcer, Carlos Micah, Nora Community College, Student Production.